how to build a structure that can really help all of our units. So I present to you the NAACP Field Team.
Thank you so much, Chairman Rose. Can we give him another round of applause? So we kind of want to set the tone for this conversation. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Amari Benoit, formerly with the Youth College, but now I get to join with the campaigns team as the National Mobilization Director to support you all when it comes to campaigns, but also the upcoming election. But I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists that are next to us. But before we get started, I kind of want to set the purpose of the conversation. This is not necessarily when we talk about compliance or AFR, where we get those questions. We want to bombard the field team, but it's more so of how do we have the conversation of what is the new field team, what are we doing, how are we doing, and what each department has planned for the next 6 months to the next year. We know this is an important year. We know next year is even more important because whatever happens this year, we have to either be proactive or reactive of what happens. So we want to make sure that we're having this conversation of what's next, especially when it comes to our field team, because the field comes first, membership comes first. So I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists. I have to the right of me, Ms. Erica Kane, who's the Vice President of Governance, Compliance, and Training. I have Phaedra Jackson, who's the Vice President of Unit Advocacy and Effectiveness. I also have Justin Watson, who is the Director of Constituent Experiences. Mr. Dominic Whitehead, who's the Vice President of Campaigns. And Mr. Derek Lewis, who's the Interim National Director of Youth College. So before we get started, we wanted to give you all time to just give an overview of what the next 6 months of the year looks like. What are your goals? We have a new staff, so we keep saying this new field experience. So the field team has grown. We want you to know who the members are and what exactly we do. So we'll go ahead and get started with you, Erica, when it comes to governance, compliance, and training. Do you mind sharing with us, if I'm passing the mic down, do you mind sharing with us what the next 6 months look like with all those tools, resources? How can we activate the field when it comes to governance, compliance, and training?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So first, let me say, for those of you that know me, a lot of you great this. Let me just say, all my life. So thank you. It's time that you have to speak. You are a customer, and without you on the ground, it do not exist. So understand over the next 6 months, my hope is that you're starting to see some of these things. We are building out a governance manual. You know that currently we have 17 manuals in rotation, but we have to update those. The belief is that we will give you a document, whether you are a new member or a seasoned member. This document will fill in the spaces that have spaces at the bottom. This document is going to walk you through, if you have never started a unit in the association, how to start a unit in the association. Provide you with that foundation. If you are a seasoned leader, we're going to provide you with the rules that maybe have gone a little lacking sometimes. But we want to give you a refresher with that document. Quarterly reports are a part of our rules, and so we are going to make the quarterly report form to a digital. What we will use that for is to archive your history. We want to make sure that that form is provided to your state conference so that your state conference can also see what's going on, as well as when the strategy and the development department says, hey, we have grant opportunities, we're going to look to those quarterly reports. We should reward units that are doing work on the ground, not units that just carry the 500. So, quarterly reports should be completed and submitted during the quarter. Automated direct action form. As you currently know, we have the special events application form that is also used as the direct action form. There's a lot of times that folks do not understand what that form is completed for. We are digitizing that form as well to make sure that you can readily get it filled out, we get it to the correct department, and we get it approved for you. We also will provide training on what that form actually should be used for. A lot of people do not understand that even if you are a case unit and you're participating in an event, you're still carrying the name, and we need to make sure that you have coverage. Compliance. Wow. I never thought I would see the space of compliance that I have seen over the last 2 weeks, being in charge of registration and the AFR process. Ooh, do we want to be in compliance with it? No. We have to make sure that we work that and you become compliant year round. Compliance should not only happen when you're ready to go to your state convention, when you're ready to vote for your national board members, or you're ready to attend the national convention. Compliance is every day. There should not be a time that your membership drops below, but understand that means we have to put you with the tools and the resources to be able to stay in compliance. Training and development is truly to my heart. When I came into this association, we had a training manual for everything that we did. We are going back to that. Mandatory training will roll out after your branch election. So I know that there's probably a question in the queue. The election manual will be released next week. We will then roll out training webinars. You will need to attend the training to understand how the election will run and how we will make sure that everything is handled correctly. But we will roll out that training as well as we will release a survey while the convention is going to ask you what trainings you want to see. I cannot stress enough that if we do not provide you the foundation to understand our rules, and the biggest thing for me is understand our language. There are youth councils, college chapters, and branches. If we do not respect our language, no one else will. So you must be trained. It is no longer an option in this association to not receive training. You signed a petition for the last 5 years saying you receive mandatory training as of May 28th. It is high time we offer you that training and hold you to that. So there will be a training system built out. We currently are working on that so that as the policies change in the Constitution and the bylaws, you will have to log into a system to take a test over our rules. I was trained as a master trainer in office because I had to take a test. So we are going back to that. But we're also making sure that we're not moving. So understand, just because we are moving into the age of technology, there will still be things that we will have for everything. So that's just as well as staff. As Amari stated and as the chair stated, we are building out staff. So you will start to see things change under governance compliance training. We will have a full training department. We will have a unit engagement department, and we will have a governance department. Okay, so branch elections are coming up. Let me go ahead and say we got several emails. Your election process has not started currently. Right, let me just make that clear. In August, you pick the date of your election. Your process starts in September. For those that email said we started back in May, no, you didn't. That's not what the manual said. So we are going to make sure you get the updated manual because I know there are tons of questions about the new election rules that will be followed because they went into effect as of June 1st, 2024. So we will cover that in this new election manual as well as offer those webinars. AFR process. I know when you see it, you say, just some of you good, just go down. I get it. I came into that process this year, so I can tell you that we are working on that process. I firmly believe that you did not sign up to be an accountant. So that means we need to figure out a process that will assist you with getting it done, but at the same time, offer you the time that you should be having on the ground to do the work of the association. So let me make one thing clear. There's no more running from the association and being in compliance with the AMR. So the days of not submitting bank statements are over. Understand, in order for us to fill you out on the 990, we must know what's going on. And just in case if you did not understand, you are under the parent company, which is the national office. So anything that you do is not yours. It is the national office that oversees your unit. So we have a responsibility to make sure while you are out getting dollars in the name of the NAACP, that we know what those dollars are for. So the days of you going to O'Reilly, Kroger, and getting a spot is over. We will be reviewing records. We will make sure everything is followed the way it needs to be followed. But we will make the process a process that is set for you. Because as a volunteer, you should not spend much on time completing that part. So understand, I fully understand that. We're looking at the process to a quarterly process. The goal is that you will have a person that contacts you to assist you with balancing your records. So at the end of the quarter, we're only looking at the last quarter, and your compliance is not high. You come into this convention, you only get a month to complete the process. So understand we put this. The National Training Hub is what I talked about, the way we'll build out the training. There are bylaws. So if you attended the May board meeting, you should also receive the communication that stated. As of now, no bylaws exist except the national bylaw. So that means whatever unit bylaws you had, they do not exist. You're only following the national bylaw. The goal is to have the new bylaws out by the October board meeting for the board to review. Then we'll put them into print. What will happen then after that is we will actually provide you training on how to write your bylaws. Because your bylaws should not trump the national office bylaws. So we want to make sure everyone understands how to write your own set of bylaws and follow. Fundraising resources. Again, everyone knows that I follow our chairman, and I don't believe in the chicken dinner. I know y'all make good money off of chicken dinner, but I want to give you the reality of November. And if it is illegal now for you to learn your history, it might be illegal to give a civil rights organization $1. So you must start to think out of the box on those fundraising aspects. So we will teach you how to raise funds as a nonprofit or like a for.
Can we go ahead and give Erica a round of applause? And please, we understand that the form that you all received, it has a current error, so please go ahead and keep your questions to the end, and we'll go ahead and answer those. But next, I'll pass it to Mr. Derek Lewis.
Okay.
I don't know if this works. People power to get a little more engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when I say people, you say power. People? Power. People? Power. Wake up. Wake up, really, because I want you all to know that there's a youth college to do, all right? That means that you have youth leaders that are looking up to you, that are following your footsteps. As Erica has said, even if you're still operating the wrong procedure, they are following what you are doing, right? Everyone, good afternoon. My name is Derek Lewis. I serve as the interim national director for the youth college division. Came to give you some updates about what's happening now. Maybe a new face for a lot of you people, maybe a familiar face for some of you all, but we're still here to get started. Also, since I'm talking about youth college right now, I know youth in the room. Raise your hand if you bought a youth with future solution. Raise your hand. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Not enough. Not enough of us. Not enough of us. This room right now probably looks like a court meeting. Oh, crickets. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide, please. So for our youth and college staff, at the moment, previously serving national director position was Lucy Cole. I am now serving the interim national director position. With me still is Janelle Police as the field organizer, and we on the search. Everybody say search. Search. For some real staff. All right. Because I'm already left us, right? I'm already left us. What our campaigns and training manager position is a position that we're actively looking for. We know when it comes to training and development, that is the core of the youth and college division. We're also looking for another field organizer. Two people, two staff members cannot do this work alone, especially as we're going into a custom election year. So look forward to more announcements as we continue to grow the Youth College Division team and continue to do the work to support youth units across the country. Now, if you are not familiar with the work, kind of broke it down to really understand how we operate as a Youth College Division. The first one, right, leadership development. Right? We're looking to build and train strong, committed organizers to lead local, state, and national initiatives. We're building organizers. The same organizers that you are, we're building them as they are you, just like you were. So when it comes to that, making sure that we are working in conjunction with our departments of staff, but most importantly, our youth leaders on the field to understand what are the issues that matter most to them, and implement that and make that a part of our program, our curriculum, our training, so we can make sure that we're giving our youth leaders the skills that they need to be successful organizers, not activists. Organizers, not activists. Right. The second one is increase our base in compliance. Increasing our base means that we are increasing our membership. Right now, we have 28,000 youth members across the country. Because at 28,000, the majority of our membership base, at least 10,000 plus, resides in youth council, right? So we're talking about increasing our basic compliance, that's making sure that we are recruiting members, right? Not just recruiting, but also retaining members as well. That we're growing our basic units, and we're talking about charter reactivation, establishing new units in different counties, cities, and college campuses. But most importantly, that we are not just being recruited to recruit, but to retain. In my tenure here, as being on staff for the past 5 years, I worked as national field organizer and field manager. One thing I'm proud to say is that over the past 5 years, we have charter reactivated 300 plus youth units across the country. And that's great. It sounds very good. Problem is retention of compliance and membership. So naming that flaw and asking for you all to support us when it comes to hyperlocal organizations, ensure that they are compliant, right? And it's not going to count. Y'all be mad about it, right? Right? Just like you are affected, our unions are affected too. But again, make sure they are becoming lifelong members of the NAACP. We then go down to grassroots organizing actions where established, enhanced, and win campaigns and initiatives that resonate within our sense of innovation, but most importantly, are top priorities as relates to youth. Oftentimes, as we're talking about problems in our community, there may be a generational gap as far as the value of what issue matters most to me. So we understand that. So we have to understand how to poll our members, keep them engaged, but also have a real understanding of what is the problem of the issue that matters most to them, and how can we implement that in our program, our campaign, our training, our messaging. So now we're continuing to build our base of members, but also moving to action. We want to build lifetime NAACP members, right? Ensure that they have a core understanding of the NAACP operation. Maintain good relationships with our adult branches, adult leaders, state conference leaders. You wonder why you have a youth leader that was doing so good for 3 years, and then all of a sudden they just diminish, you never heard from. That's because the relationships that we have here. I am really asking you all, and you all know this is the problem, right? When it comes to our adult units and our youth units, making sure that you are working in collaboration with each other. If there is a problem that is going on in Austin, Texas, right? It's not just the Austin branch that's advocating for it, it's the Austin branch, the Austin Youth Council, and the college chapter in that area, right? We have to work in coordination with each other so that we can continue to win. But most importantly, this was going to help us ensure that we have a clear pipeline or streamline as it relates to when our youth members age out at 25 and graduate from college, that now that they can go to essentially what is the young adults that was next year, right? And going from next year to where? The branches, right? Because what we realized is when our college students graduate, just graduate 25, some of them are still able to commit, but also realize it. They continue to do their work, and they have had kids, they move, work in their careers, and then we don't see them again until about 42. And that's a big gap, but making sure that there are opportunities that exist for our members and our youth members to feel seen, to feel heard, and making space for them to work with us in relationship with each other towards the same goal. The last one is training and development, making sure that we can provide support to youth units through training, advocacy, training, strategy, grassroots and digital organizing, and ensuring that they have a real understanding of what compliance is and how it affects them overall. So for the next 6 to 12 months, anybody says the increase? The increase. We are looking, we have a goal to reach 50 voter registrants or verify 50,000 across the country. We are having a partnership with student voters, student vote, and civic holidays to ensure our youth units and our youth members are aware of the opportunities to engage their peers in civic engagement, to voter registration, to vote early day, to voter education week, to voter heroes day. Working with them, we have a goal to make sure our 100 units participate and sign up for that. If they sign up for this, our branch can participate in this as well. You will receive resources to support you. If that is a tablecloth, there are other ways that literature material, postcards, and other things shared out to support you in these efforts. Another thing is that we also talk about oftentimes how we are getting people registered to vote, but also there's a thing called pre-registration, right? Also talk about how can we expand the electric or democracy, not just for those who are eligible to vote, but for those who are approaching 15, 16, 17 years old and focusing on pre-registration. Even though that this is only eligible in a few states right now, this is something that the Youth and College Division has been committed to since the 1970s, from the Vote 18 initiative to the Vote 16 initiative, and we're now still continuing that fight to make sure that we can expand that and ensure that youth are participating in our democracy. Increase in staff, right? We're going to restructure staff, really think about how we have our youth and college division structured as it relates to staff. We understand that we have to do more for our youth kids. So rethinking through that. As you all know, when it comes to staff, we want to make sure that we are getting new and experienced staff. I will say this as a testament, we are looking to ensure that in some type of way there is a pipeline to where the field in some fashion ends up becoming supporting youth and college staff or becoming youth and college staff. That is what makes the most sense when it comes to internal knowledge and ensuring that our youth members can also see themselves in higher positions within the NAACP. And then I don't know if you all recognize, but in front of my title is the word interim. All right, interim is temporary. Temporary for the moment, right? As we are going through this, we are looking for the search of a permanent national director. And of course, that is to lead our youth students across the country and our staff members to ensure that we are doing the work of the association, but also reaching the priorities of our youth students across the country. We're going to increase our resources for members and units across the country. A lot of times I've been hearing is that, yeah, you're always asking us to do something, but y'all ain't never giving us nothing. And I heard y'all, and I learned how to fundraise a little bit, just a little bit. You all appreciate you came into our office. You are well of our MVP mobilization kit, our membership voter project mobilization kit. This is where you sign up for this campaign specifically. It's a part of our greater membership campaign, which will be launched a little bit later this year. Is that we'll provide you with resources that support you. Those are t-shirts. Those are talking points for messaging recruitment that may look like water bottles. Just different things to support you in giving incentives for our youth members that we have learned has been successful over the years. We have our youth BCBF funding. Everybody says favorite.
Favor.
Ain't. Fair.
Yeah.
Honestly. Even though we have over 1,200 youth units established across the country, everybody's not eligible for this funding. We're focusing on our tier 3 through 5 states local down ballot elections to ensure that we can support youth units when it comes to the elections that will impact them the most. The elections that will impact them the most, we're focusing on the DA share, the share price, what are the other local down ballot, your mayoral race as well. The down ballot local elections where you're actually going to feel the consequences of the negative if something doesn't happen, right? And I'm pretty sure that Dominic will share more about that as far as the greater aspect. For the youth aspect, this is the first year that we've had it. Y'all asked for it. Y'all better give Dominic and Phaedra and Tyler and everybody else some love to make sure that this happens. But the funding for youth goes up to $10,000. Favor? Ain't fair, right? We also have our youth democracy program. Our youth democracy program is in our tier one states, making sure that we are supporting our youth units and ensuring that they are doing the work of civic engagement this year. That is increasing voter registration numbers and closing the voter turnout gap for youth members across their state, their towns, their cities within their specific jurisdiction. More information is coming out on that as far as announcing who those youth democracy fellows are. But this is a stipend position because the economy is a bit rough. And also make sure that we can support our youth leaders when it comes to this. What we realize is that oftentimes members get poached because of the opportunities that they do not have. And this is an option that we are providing to our units to actually pay them, give them money in their pocket to say thank you for the work that you're doing, but also to develop a skill in the work that they're doing as organized, also focusing on process and procedures across the state. And last but not least is increased youth engagement tool usage, youth council programming and campaigns. Again, 21,000 of our members reside in youth councils, and we have not done a great job of supporting youth council when it comes to programming campaigns. I know Tamika is about to kill me because we didn't have our youth shirts for convention, and we understand and we recognize that. But that's something that we're recognizing and we love to work with advisors and our youth councilors across the nation. So right size, and most importantly, making sure that we are providing the opportunities for youth council members, not just to volunteer at your freedom fund banquet, right? But to become organizers. How do we bring down advocacy and organizing from a macro level to a micro level so they can understand? We want to make sure that we are also supporting our advisors and bringing in a sense of gamification for our youth members. Annual core programming, right? Annual core programming. So now people are expected to know what are the opportunities that our youth members, our youth kids can participate in. We understand that when we have leadership retention, that's only going to happen when we have opportunities that exist for you. If our members do not know what to do or what is going on or what is upcoming, they're gonna buy that membership for that year. They're probably not gonna do it, right? So we have to make sure that we keep them engaged. It's not just on us at the national level. We can only do so much. How do you keep them engaged on the state level? How do you keep them engaged locally? And that means that we need support of branches and college chapters as well to support our youth councils. And then, of course, making sure that we increase our usage of Salesforce. Increase our use of Salesforce. Now, you are very technology savvy. Over 200 have been registered and have access to the system. Probably have them actually use it. This is made to support and make things easier for you, but also for our youth, so they have access for the memberships. They can see what's going on, so they can understand their compliance status. But not just Salesforce, our digital membership card and vote.org. Our digital membership card is a new feature that I'm sure that almost everyone should have now. We have an annual membership and or a lifetime membership. And with our vote.org, this is how we're now bringing in tools, digital advocacy, technological advances in the 21st century, and bringing this to advocacy. Vote.org is a tool that we use to show and measure our impact. Our impact isn't just based off of photo ops. Our impact isn't just based off of you being placed on the front of the newspaper and you make the headlines. And you could have for a very good reason. But then the question that we're going to ask you is, what was your quantitative impact? How many people did you actually get registered to vote? You could have been on, I don't know, Wall Street. You probably could have been at the recognized age group that yeah. Maybe you could have went to the Frankie Beverly and his concert, right? Hey, yeah, I love that song. You know what I'm saying? And maybe turned out to voter registration. It just sounded good. And it got all the media hits. But y'all was so involved, having so much fun at the concert, you would have got people registered to vote, right? We're talking about our impact. So this is what we use to measure the success and the impact of our youth units. But that is it for the youth college division.
I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Ms. Phaedra Jackson. advocacy community effectiveness.
Thank you, Lori. Hey, everyone, how y'all doing? Hanging in there? We are so excited to come and talk to you today about the new field, and I'm excited to talk to you about the advocacy department because we are working on tons of campaigns and information and tools and resources, and we're listening to you to provide them. In our department, well, this is just a rundown of what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to introduce you to our staff, talk about our responsibilities, our goals, do a little future casting. All right, so what are we working on? One of the big things that we've heard from you all is that we need stronger field communications. You need to hear from the national, and the national needs to hear from you. So we're working across departments, across the association to build out calendars, to set out ongoing trainings, to make sure that we're having all units calls to get information to you. And so we will be making sure that there's a schedule set of times and events so that you all can plan around them. I know it's frustrating when we call you and we send you an email and we say, okay, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we need you all get on this call. We know. Sometimes things break and we have to do it, but we are holding ourselves to a standard to be better about that, to give you time to plan. We know you're volunteers. We know you're doing this after a hard day's work. We know you're asking you to miss work sometimes. So we will have concerted effort to have scheduled field communication. We're also working on a training curriculum. You all, a lot of you probably attended Curtai. Raise your hand if you went to our virtual Curtai this year. Okay, great, thank you. We love to hear that. But Curtai shouldn't be the only time you get access to training, right? And so we are working really hard to make sure that we are building out the training that you are asking for. We are getting the resources that you need so that you have the information. And again, those will be put on a schedule so that you can plan for them. They'll probably be quarterly. Our staff is still a little small, but we're gonna make sure that you have access. Myself and Erica are working to make sure that there's a learning management system so that these trainings live somewhere and they're on demand and you can access them at any time, right? And so basically, we try to steer the ship in the right way, but just know we hear you, we know what you're asking for, and we are building it. We're also thinking through event support, things like our state national advocacy days. Raise your hand if you participated earlier this year in our state legislative advocacy days. All right, I see a few of you. We're gonna get that number up next year. But this is a great way to hold ourselves accountable to our work, right? Like Dominic and his team are gonna work to make sure that we are getting folks elected that service our communities, but it doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning. Because right after that, we gotta make sure that we're advocating for policies and legislation that keeps them accountable to the needs in our community. And so our team will be working together to make sure that happens when we work with you, to make sure we understand what you're doing on your state level, and what kind of resources you need. I see my colleague in the back from the policy department. They've been a great asset to make sure that we have one-pagers, we have a landing page with all of the legislation that we're working on. We're gonna make sure that that's continually pushed out and made available to you. And then finally, supporting your national and local campaigns. So you all know that our centers of innovation all have different various campaigns going on. We wanna make sure that we are in conversation with you all about supporting those campaigns, about making sure that you understand the laws, the legislation, the policy that's added. We also know that there are things that are very specific in your individual states and municipalities that need support. And so we wanna make sure you all have the tools to organize on those and to advocate at the local and state level. All right, so meet our team. We are growing, and I think it's a testament that the association is committed to building out our advocacy department. I said this earlier today, but about 8 months ago, our advocacy department was one person, Mandel Adesky. He's our national advocacy director. He's holding it down in another meeting. And that one person cannot service all of you, right? But in the last few months, we brought on Wisdom Cole, our former youth and college director. The new national advocacy director, Corey Johnson. So your advocacy team is growing, and we're here to support you. And with that added capacity means that you have the support. You have people you can reach out to get the information you need to build out the training, to come to your state conferences and host trainings. And so we're looking forward to you holding us accountable to make sure you're getting what you need to be successful. So there it is, all of our contact information. I mean it when I say hold us accountable. Take a picture, email us, and we will make sure that we're getting back to you. We are, yes, sir.
Is that all of you up here?
That's me. My team, advocacy. And so we are here. It may take us, give us at least 48 hours to answer your email. Our inboxes are a bit insane, but we will get to you. It is our commitment to make sure that your questions and your concerns are answered and that we're turning out the information that you need to be successful. Next slide. All right, so when we think about the advocacy department, we think about the work of the association, right? We are charged with supporting legislative and regulatory advocacy and coalition building efforts across the association at the national and local level. And we work closely with every department in the association to make sure that happens. So I just shouted out our policy and legislative team. We work closely with our comms to make sure the information that you all have, your toolkits, your scripts, your PSAs, whatever you need to be able to break this information down, we're making sure we have it. We're also making sure there's a feedback, right? Because I can push out information, but it may not be relevant for you. And so we had a convening this morning with leaders from the field, from your units and your branches to make sure that we understood what the needs are and how dynamic it needed to be. And so again, I'll encourage you to make sure that you're holding us accountable and that we're catering the tools that we put out to help you support your advocacy work. And then finally, our goal, we really want to provide reliable, consistent trainings to support the advocacy work. We want to build strong relationships and units with leaders in the field. So I've tasked my team to seek as many of you out as possible, get your contact information, give our contact information out, and make sure we're available. Trust me when I say we have heard you when you have said that it has been difficult to get national to answer calls and to return emails. And we are holding ourselves to a higher standard and making sure that we are returning your calls, your emails, and responding to your needs. We also want to make sure we've developed our rapid response muscle to support advocacy efforts. A lot of you, the world has ever changed. Something is on fire every single day, and many times the NAACP is called to respond to that, right? And so we are working to make sure that we know we have a clunky system, and sometimes it might take a little time to get it right. We want to check our legal boxes. We want to make sure we're compliant with election laws and things like that. We also want to build a system that lets us plug and play and respond quickly. I've heard from you all, by the time you get an answer back from national, it's not an issue anymore, and that can't happen. So know that we are working on that, and we're building out a pipeline and a rapid response to make sure that you are actually able to respond to something when it's still hot and you can actually affect change. I talked about our feedback loop, and again, we want this to be both ways. So we'll push things out to the field, but we also want to make sure that you all are pushing things up to us and saying, hey, national, are you paying attention to this? This is happening in 8 states across the nation. Let's see if it needs a deeper look. And then finally, establish and maintain clear lines of communication that talks about calendar and scheduling. We want to respect your time. If we're asking you as volunteers to commit to something, we want to make sure it's scheduled and ready for you. Next slide.
And actually, before we go to the procedural services and the call center, I actually want to introduce Mr. President, Mr. Derek Johnson, to go ahead and give remarks of readings.
Good morning. I was about to say good morning. First of all, welcome to the 115th annual National Convention. I hope how we are redesigning the field department is helpful. All of the hard work we do. We began a process pre-COVID, then COVID hit. It shook up everything. Now we're getting back to where we started. So as I look around the room, many of you have been active for, I won't say as long as I've been alive, for as long as I can remember. Which is a true, I'll be pointing at the Browns, which is a true testament of the commitment that you have to ensure our communities have both voice and potential. And it is our job as staff is to provide the best service possible to make your job easier. And as you all know, I'm from the field, I sit in the seat, I know how important it is to get a return call. You need a return call. I know how important it is when somebody gives you $30 if they have a return of a membership card that's timely. I know when it's time to activate on an action and you want the insurance for a field so you can get approval to do whatever the news conference, press conference is, that you're able to do it And some of those things can be planned 3, 4, 5 weeks in advance, and they happen the same day. And so this construct, we're hoping will allow more ease of use. So that when you have a compliance question, Erica and team is on the ready to respond, and it gives you accurate information that's actually to be found in the bylaws for one of the manuals that's been updated. Then, if we're building out an advocacy campaign, if you want the materials that Phaedra and team can get that to you, and it's on the ready. They don't have to take 5 days to create it because we anticipate the fact that we need to have a true presence in DC annually. Is something that we've talked about for, I was gonna say years, for a couple of decades. We had it, and it stopped. One of the things that the board at either October or maybe February is bringing the regional conferences back, but in the way in which we can imagine what if we did the national convention every other year, and then do the regional meetings on the off year. And we had subsidiary conversation about this yesterday in the board meeting. And one of the things we did, early on, well, we are picking our site, at the convention for the next year. So we kind of picked our site for 2027. Thank you that we actually did some of the plan. But now we've got a really season. And so we signed those contracts, but maybe it's 2028, we'll go to a different site. For those of you who come up to Region 5, we miss our Region 3. Right? For those who in Region 2, that was the time to come together. In Region 7, whether you go to Virginia, or for Region 7 folks, I know y'all go to Virginia to see James G. Y'all don't like that. So whether y'all went over to Maryland, so y'all didn't have to see James G., that was good. They get it back, I like speaking. Or Region 4, or Region 6, whatever region. One of the things that I think we lost when we made that internal political decision to cancel the regional meeting. It was an internal political decision to cancel the regional meeting. We lost our connection to our units on the ground. Because we will have units who would drive to a regional meeting, because they always couldn't afford to go to the national conference. And we need to meet our communities where we are, and where we are. Build it out all cities. And if you haven't experienced the call centers and well, he's coming. I want to. It's a beautiful thing because it's actual individuals who are being trained and put together metrics and the whole system to make sure you receive a return or you're able to get through. So we all remember the times that we'll be chasing people through the building, but you don't have that person up in the building, and you get that number, then you chase that person. All of those things that we are reconsidering, while we at the same time don't lose the character of who we are. Child Ward Dunlap and Nancy Bailey, they are saints. They will stay on the phone with you to work through whatever problem you need to work out. But we only have 2 Sean Ward Dunlaps and Nancy. And so you have several people now who are trying to learn as much from them as possible, because we know when someone is calling, we have to have great bedside manner. You could have a great doctor with a bad attitude and leave there not feeling good. You could have a doctor with great attitude, horrible in his practice, but you'll go back anyway. Our job is to have great service and great attitude. And I think that's important. This organization, we live or die based on our members across the country. We are held together in the trunk of your cars, your dining room table, and the nightstands next to the bed. That's what stitch us together. And we should embrace it because that's who we are. We are a volunteer-driven organization supported by staff. We're not a staff-driven organization supported by volunteers. And we recognize that. Therefore, we thank you for all of the things that you have done in terms of contributing your time, talent, and everything else. Because in this moment, we are in a real fight. November is serious. When we leave this convention, our priority will be November. Full stop. If we ain't trying to raise money, we go back to November. If we're not trying to raise money, we go back to November. Why? Because it's not about how old a candidate is. It's not about whether or not the candidate was able to respond quickly, or they stuttered, or exhausted, or had a lapse. It's not about a personality or a performance. It's about the public policy that's going to help outcomes for the citizens that state. And it is, now we know, because it's in writing over 400 pages, called Project 2025. That's what this election is about. What is going to be the role of government, and whether or not those of us in this room, all of us, whether or not we will be considered a full citizen entitled to all the rights guaranteed under the Constitution, that is interpreted correctly and not through the cloud of expensive cigars on somebody's yacht that's been paid for you to write a fast. And so that's why we are here, to convene, to get inspired, and to ensure that November turn out in a way in which our children and our children's children can celebrate their human essence, their full citizenship, and know that democracy is working because we fought for it to work. Thank you all very much. It's the start of the convention.
All right, so we will go ahead and kick it out to you, Justin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Justin Watson, Director of the Constituent Experience Contact Center. So just want to introduce my department. Next slide. So the National Contact Center, along with Constituent Services, we're a centralized office of customer experience professionals. So when you think about reaching out to the NAACP, you don't have Erica Kane's personal and business phone number. You probably dial us, right? And we're on the other end. We're the folks who's going to liaison and coordinate a resolution. So I have here, we are committed to making a meaningful impact in the lives of our constituents, donors, members, and other stakeholders. Our National Contact Center is dedicated to delivering exceptional service, providing prompt and accurate support, and offering personalized guidance to address your unique needs. From answering questions to addressing concerns, we're here to help you navigate your experience with ease and confidence. Okay? So when I mentioned as far as the Constituent Services and National Contact Center, prior to us standing up this department, we called it the switchboard, right? Anyone would answer the phone, or maybe not. You can call any time of the day and leave a message. You may receive a call back 2 or 3 months later. Now we're at the point where you can give us a call, and someone from national staff will be able to assist you. Just to go over some metrics here, year to date, we fielded over 23,615 calls. We're a small, mighty, and growing team. These calls can be from anywhere, asking to get in contact with Dom and the campaign team, because we have a local election, or they have something going on where they need resources, or they may need to speak with Lanita Ross in the legal department because they need the insurance form filled out for the event that's happening in 48 hours, right? 80% of our calls were answered within 30 seconds. The remainder, about 36 to 39 seconds, which is pretty impressive for the small team that we have. Average handling time, meaning the amount of time that we try to spend on the phone. And this is the average so far from the 23,000 calls, 6 minutes and 19 seconds. And of course, we are targeting improvement. We know folks don't want to just be on the phone with us all day. So we're working to ensure that staff are equipped and they have all the resources to provide you a simplified experience over the phone with us. First call resolution. Same with the first call resolution. We're going to get to a point where we're actually measuring the amount of calls that we are resolving during that first call that you have. That way there's no back and forth, there's no follow-up needed. We're providing you that assistance right then and there as opposed to having to send a message. A few of the specialty views that we have for the contact center, constituent services, the social emergency room is what I like to call it, right? Folks give us a call because they may have been pulled over by law enforcement 30 minutes ago, or sometimes 30 days ago, or 30 years ago. They still call us, right? The late Joe Madison said, when hell breaks loose, folks call on Jesus Christ and the NAACP. And we're on the line. We also have 2023 AFR Helpline. That's for all of the troubleshooting needs. If you need to get in contact with our financial operations team, we're here to liaison that call for you. If we are unable to provide you a resolution right then and there, we'll be sure to send a message and make sure that there's follow-up from. Campaigns and voter registration. All of the departments that Phaedra mentioned in advocacy, we pretty much support all of the internal departments at the NAACP. So if you're calling in and you're trying to get in contact with anyone, whether it's Tyler Sterling from campaigns, you're going to reach out to us and we're going to make sure that we get that message over to him and he's going to make sure that he's following up with it. Also, when you think about polling, so for example, in November, folks are going to be calling us talking about the frustrations that are associated with, voter suppression and things that happen at the polls. So we're tracking that information so that we can share that with our internal departments, and that way they can take that and use it for actionable insights. Digital membership card support. You'll be hearing more about digital membership cards during this convention, but we are the team that's going to assist with troubleshooting. You need any type of question answered, we're here to assist you, whether it's assisting with downloading or simply targeting Salesforce so that you can get into the system correctly. Also, legal department and member outreach. So we support the legal department by reaching out to our membership. For example, I can think of there was a lawsuit that was going on with the state conference in Texas. We were reaching out to members to see if they wanted to be part of a lawsuit, either with their proper name or anonymously. So those are just the type of projects that we can assist with internal departments to get out folks and make sure that they are involved with our national office. Membership services leads, or like President Johnson mentioned, you have Sean and you have Nancy. That's a very small team of membership. We are equipped to answer majority of your questions, right? But that's where it comes to training reinforcements, which I'll talk about on the next slide. But we want to ensure that folks are not waiting, 40 hours or a week to get answers for your membership input. In National Convention Special Projects, we also have a queue for that. So if you have any questions that are outside of housing, different things like that, whether it's the registration or the app, we're the team who can assist you. We recently reached out to all members that had special requests prior to coming to the convention. So we were very happy to take you there. And then lastly, unit officer data cleanup. Reaching out to our unit officers, ensuring that we have the most accurate information in Salesforce, because that's really important for my team, right? When we're trying to provide resources to our constituents, we want to make sure that we have the correct numbers in the local units in the state conference. 2024 and beyond initiative. So right now we are leveraging artificial intelligence for our sentiment analysis. President Johnson asked if we could begin tracking zip codes so that we can track how many constituents are calling from Atlanta, Georgia, and talking about, misconduct from the police officers, right? We're going to use that data and we're going to share it with our strategy partners, our advocacy, our campaigns, and then come up with how do we, how do we merit all of the departments so that we can take action, right? Talk about funding the different regions. Of course, additional staff is needed, so we'll be recruiting top talent from national boards to bolster our team. We're looking for customer experience professionals who are all in, right? This is not your average call center that you would be working for anywhere selling something, right? We're selling the brand, but we have a large responsibility because we're on the front line. Don't get it twisted. Folks call us to agitate as well, right? We get racist, making marketing noises, all of those things. I block them, right? We block those folks, but we have all different types of calls that are calling in to get a rise out, right? So we're trained to our talking points and ensure that we communicate that we are nonpartisan, that we focus on Black and people of color, and we want to eliminate discrimination for all marginalized. Reinforcement training, leveraging programs such as the NAACP C-HOPE, ensuring that staff are fully equipped, right? Also, customer experience, emotional intelligence. As President Johnson mentioned, we want to basically service you with kids, right? Our constituents, we want to instill hope and confidence that the resources we're providing them, it'll work out for you. Just keep calling those organizations. File that complaint with the Office of Civil Rights. Be in contact with the local government. And as I mentioned, local, state, federal government agencies to enhance skills and knowledge. So previously, in 2022 and 2023, we partnered with SAMHSA, also the Office of Civil Rights for different agencies. That way, we can feel more empowered to provide the resources and we can speak in an intelligent way when we're getting these phone numbers out and these websites and these forms to our constituents who are reaching out. Membership support. Inactive and new membership campaign. So, we want to create a membership onboarding team. That's in the pipeline. So when you branch, when you have a new member, we want to have a team that's going to reach out and say, hello, Ms. Macy, thank you so much for your membership. Here's when your next meeting is. Here's your local contact information. And here's how you can start to mobilize different things. Get the ball rolling with a lot of things. We really appreciate your membership. Some folks don't like digital. We can send you the card email, but we want to make sure that you have every single thing so that you feel empowered. Because we don't want to hear next year, I signed up and I didn't receive it. Right? I think I'm going to cancel my membership. You see those type of things on social media, right? So we're going to try to eliminate that altogether. And then as far as the inactive and new membership campaigns, this is a revenue generating initiative. It's huge. We have tens of thousands of people who are inactive simply because they may have forgotten that they did not renew their membership. They may have forgotten about the NAACP. That's why we're here, to reignite that, right? And then also we're going to attract new members. So it's kind of like a customer marketing type of project, and we're all in for those type of. And then lastly, a national legal redress program. So we want to partner with our state and regional units because I know that staff come to me and they talk about, we receive a lot of calls where they're calling about criminal case, right? We're not a law firm. We're tasked with communicating that we are not a law firm. We're a civil rights advocacy organization. So we have to provide resources, but also make sure that we're still providing that level, no matter what you call it. So we want to be able to partner with our local, state, and regional offices and units to make sure that, we're providing the right resources. If there's a program in Mississippi that we don't know about, that we don't have in our repository or database, then we can make sure that we're providing that information. Thank you, everyone.
So I'm gonna pass this back. Go ahead.
All right.
We're gonna do questions at the end of this meeting.
All right, can we hear me?
Yeah.
How we feeling? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, NAACP. My name is Dominic White, I'm the Vice President of campaign here at the NAACP. And I'll be quick and brief. We want to make sure we have to get to questions and answers. I have the pleasure of leading an amazing team here. We have our National Campaign Director, Mr. Tyler Sterling. Tyler is currently running the phone and text bank right now. So when you leave this session, you can go directly to Receive right around the corner and make some phone calls and text out to voters across the country. Who's going to do that? Raise your hand. Come on. This is people know shit. And then we also have Mr. Mark Benoit, who's moderating the panel here, our new National Mobilization Director. Mari comes from the Youth and College Division as the National Training Director, and so we are excited to have her on our team. And then, of course, the heartbeat of the campaign team is Pepper Triplet. I think I see her somewhere in the room. There's all things campaign, logistics, et cetera, for our team overall. We're going to talk about this on 3 points overall. We know right now, as President Johnson just stated a few moments ago, all things lead to November 5th. Let's say it together. All things lead. All things lead to November 5th. We have a lot of work to do over the next 113 days. Yes, 113 days before the upcoming election. We'll walk through what's to come in 2025. We have to get ready. We cannot sit back and be reactive. We have to start being proactive. Start scenario planning on what's to come, regardless of whatever happens at the top of the ticket, all the way to the bottom of the ticket. We still have to be ready to go to serve the community that we're focusing in on. And then, of course, what's the 5-year campaign strategy? So thinking beyond that, right? About 7 years ago, when President Johnson took the mantle, President and CEO of the association, we developed and created what we call a 5-year civic engagement plan. We're well beyond that 5-year plan. We began to think through what does civic engagement look like. And it doesn't look the same as it did 5 to 7 years ago. It looks a little different now because we're fighting a different animal. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Can we agree to that?
Yes.
All right, all things for November 5th. Of course, folks know about our relational organizing program. We're recruiting up to 300,000 volunteers across the country to touch 14.5 million Black voters across our Tier 1 states this year. We're focused on crucial down ballot races. So we know top of the ticket is real. We know that there is a candidate A and there's a candidate B. But we also know there's important races like district attorney races, sheriff races, school board races, state legislature races, races that truly impact the lives of Black and brown people across the country. The work that Phaedra was just lifting up a moment ago around the advocacy work, much of that work in those campaigns, our team will be working on, it really comes from the local and state elections, right? And so we want to make sure we have a crucial eye on what that looks like. Of course, our number one goal is to increase Black civic participation at the national, state, and local level. Again, the national, state, and local level, we should be voting from the top of the ticket all the way down to the bottom of the ticket. Educate and inoculate our members on Project 2025. A lot is going to come to that over the next couple of weeks. As folks know, we passed an emergency resolution at the board meeting yesterday, and I believe that will come out as resolutions in the coming days. That is a big piece in terms of Project 25, but that is on the ballot come November. Democracy is on the ballot come November. Our livelihood is on the ballot come November. And then focusing in on rapid response scenario planning from now until November. And you heard that from each of our departments, from Erica and governance, from Phaedra and the advocacy team, and even Justin and Derek Lewis as well, on how we're looking to begin to again be proactive and not always reactive. Can we say proactive? Proactive. Can we say proactive NAACP? Proactive NAACP. What's to come in 2025? One of the things that our team is focusing in having, I know this is something that Amari, who's new to our team, and both Tyler has been lifting up, our in-person campaign training. We recently just completed a 3-day boot camp. It was a pre-convention event. It was Wednesday, July 10th through Friday, July 12th. And it was powerful. This is our 3rd year doing that boot camp, and we want to figure out how do we take these trainings, similar to what President Johnson said, into the field, get from behind them virtual computers and actually getting out there with our members in real time and really training folks in the work we do. When we think about our training, we think about democracy. right? Democracy training, so all things voting rights and redistricting, all the things many of you are facing in your state day in and day out. Our advocacy training, we really want to be on alignment and partnership with Phaedra and her team and taking through an advocacy training supply. And then, of course, our civic engagement training, help on a little bit, but our civic engagement training overall. Focus on odd year elections. Oftentimes, we think about 2024, you hear folks often talking about 2026, and some folks are even talking about 2028. But there are elections after 2024, there are elections in 2025, there are elections where they're happening in 2027, there are elections happening every single year. I think about states like Virginia, they have elections every year. There's no off year in Virginia and some other things. Leveraging and expanding our tools. Mr. Tyler Sterling, as I mentioned, he is literally conducting a phone bank training, just in a text with folks phone banking in real time, and he is thinking of ways how we bring our tools to prevention, how we bring our tools into ties and regions to make sure folks not only able to use them, but our members and our volunteers are able to purchase them, utilize them, and understand the impact of the tools as well. Develop democracy defenders. We know post-November, we cannot continue to keep our work based upon elections. We have to be prepared for the work after November as well. So what does it look like to ensure that we are defending our democracy day in and day out? We saw what happened after November 2020, in January of 2021, on January 6th, some folks tried to obstruct democracy, right? And so what does it mean for us after we go to the voting booth and vote and elect on our issues? We continue to defend democracy overall. Creating a training curriculum for different campaigns, going into 2025, but then again, as we all said, the long-term rapid response scenario plan. We're continuing to say that in real time, the scenario plan. 5-year civic engagement strategy. The work continues whatever happens in November. So of course we have to go back to the drawing board again to build out what the civic engagement look like. But the number one thing is accountability, right? That is the number one thing. And so we do not want to create a civic engagement plan in the silo. We need to be in partnership with units on the ground, state conferences, state political action chairs, our branch political action chairs, so everyone should be involved in the conversation. Democracy plan. In the next 6 to 7 years, redistricting is already happening in so many states. Voting rights, we see the voting rights attacks continue to happen in states across the country. Census, that is the thing, it is coming. 2030 is coming, so we got to prepare, not in 2030, but prior to 2030, right? And so we got to begin to have those conversations to make sure all of our people are counted fairly. They're trying to count us out in a lot of ways. I don't know if y'all saw Project 65, the Heritage Foundation, and so many other things. They're trying to literally get rid of Black and brown folks and working folks in this country. So we got to be ready to go for all of these things. Activation strategy for the people, the team has really been thinking through over the last few months. So how do we create that ladder of engagement for 2024 civic engagement volunteers? What we mean by this, but what we mean by that in terms of the ladder of engagement, we're going to recruit all of these volunteers over the next few months, here in November. But how do those volunteers, especially those ones who are not NAACP members, how do we continue to engage them around the important work that we're doing throughout November, right? It should not stop at November. We should continue to be engaged with our volunteers around the issues and the campaign. You all are the frontline volunteers, frontline democracy defenders on the ground, so we have to be ready to go. And then, of course, year by 2024 civic engagement volunteers, a journey for them to become members. So what does it look like for those folks who are not members to become members, to be part of your units on the ground? I'll try to speed through this because I know we have a few more folks to present. So this is the campaign work in a nutshell over the next 5 years. All things November 2024. Let's say it together. All those through November 5th, 2024. Let's say it again.
All things November 5th, 2024.
And from there, then we're going to focus on our 2025 plan, but at the same time, that we'll be building our 5-year campaign strategy.
I need the campaign department to get a little bit more love. This is a very crucial year. So before we go to membership, we do actually want to take 1 or 2 questions, and then we actually have a demo for membership for you all to actually view. I know the room is going to raise a lot of questions, so we're going to take those 3 that I've popped so far. So we'll start here, go here, and then to you. This is a friendly reminder
that we will not be addressing questions about AFR, EIN numbers, compliance. We do have a session, or we do have office hours within the compliance office that's Shoreline. So again, a friendly reminder that we are not answering questions about EIN and AFR. We do have a compliance area to actually focus on that and sit down with you and help support you through that process. Okay? All right. Yes.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that is a great question. That is definitely included. When we think about our volunteer research that we've done over the past few years of our civic engagement campaign, about 6 to 7% of our volunteers that recruited are NAACP. Now we need to get that number up. So I think about the 2020 election cycle, we recruited about 180,000 volunteers across the country to help us get black voters. Out of the 180,000, about 7% were NAACP members. So our goal this year, and our team has been hard at work in partnership with field team, college, and other departments to make sure that we're engaging the units in real time. As I mentioned, we had a civic engagement boot camp a few days ago, and over the last few months, we have set goals this year directly to every state, Congress, and our tier 1 states to have a volunteer recruitment goal towards civic engagement. That number is a part of the overall.
Thank you.
So I agree. This was an exceptional presentation. So thank you to all of you. I have a part A and a B question. Part A is, are we going to be able to have access to that presentation? I'm from Seattle. Most of my team, we're kind of dividing and conquering here. So that's question number 1. Will we have access to the presentation?
Question was, we have access to the presentation. We can make sure or ask if we can add it to the website.
Oh,
but also the information in terms of staff, that information is on the website. So you saw email addresses, you get that contact information. That is all on the website. If you look up our names, you can get all of our information there too, but we'll make sure that we get this presentation.
Perfect. And then I saw a theme, President Johnson, and you all mentioned accountability, and all roads lead to 2025. We have a lot of dollars and energy focused on equity and inclusion and belonging. And what do you all, I guess, recommend as suggestions when you have organizations, big dollar organizations, saying things but not necessarily following through? I feel like the NAACP has the perfect voice to hold organizations lovingly accountable. So just wanted to get your advice about that.
Yeah, so great question. The question was, we talked about accountability, and we have a lot of organizations in our communities that say one thing and do another. And so what's our role? And that's really historically what we do, is call them out, right? Many of you might remember we had a campaign called Diversity No Matter What after the fall of affirmative action in the Supreme Court. And in that campaign, we actually had people sign up to be watchdogs of companies in their community and call them out. And so be on the lookout, because we're relaunching our D&I campaign, which has a clear vision on calling out companies and really holding them accountable to what they say they're going to do and what they're not, and what they say they're putting their money to and where they're not.
Yes.
We have one more.
I have a question. They talk about and I tried to work with the house, and another person that separate and that is I need to clarify.
There we go.
So, I was a youth advisor. And so I will tell you, you are separate. You are two separate entities, which is why you have to file two separate AFRs. But we have to stop weaponizing. Because you are separate, weaponizing. Because you're separate, does not mean you don't work together. But let's be very real about this. A lot of us that are becoming seasoned do not want them at the table because you're afraid they're going to take your place. And some of them that are not seasoned are trying to take your place and don't know the correct way to go about it. So what has to happen is they pay a membership just like an adult pays a membership. They have an equal vote. They have an equal say at the table. So their portal is their portal, just like your portal is your portal. But we must find the in between. And I can tell you that I'm a product of the in between. Because if no one that was a seasoned member embraced me, I wouldn't be sitting here. Because it required somebody to move aside to give me the space. So yes, so what we're working on with, yes, so what we're working on with youth in college, and I don't think Derek said it and I didn't say it. I was Derek Lewis's state advisor. So understand, we are modeling the way. I advised him, he got here, and then I found. So we have to figure out, it does not mean that you have to leave the table, but you have a place. And so to my seasoned members, no, we are not trying to kick you out the association. But in order for this association to go past 115 years, you hold a critical piece. That piece might not any longer be you sitting at the table in a membership. That piece might be you archiving our history, so we understand how our units came about, what happened in our units, so we don't make those same mistakes. But to the young people in the room that I still consider myself, even though they say I'm not, that doesn't mean that because you don't like what they're doing, you come in the wrong way. Right. Because if you don't know what has happened before, you won't do it the right way. And that's the piece. So we have a real problem right now that we have to rectify. I am probably one of 40 that still sit here in the NAACP that we can say we came up as people. Yeah. Our association currently in the structure does not embrace me. I'm sorry. We don't. So we gotta figure out how to change it. But that has to be an equal piece on the adult side and on the youth side. So no, do not use them to hold your door open and the chicken dinner. When you're ready to get funds, don't put them on the front of the fly and then never call them again. Right. But they also can not only call you when they want money to come to the convention. Yes. Right. So, hopefully that answers the question. Oh, they have always. Let me make this one understand in the bylaws, and I probably need to say this to you this time. Advisors are elected, but the piece that we miss, they must be approved by the board. You better read the bylaws. Because that is a caveat to make sure that we are not bringing someone in to be around our youth that should not be. Now, again, I would use the same word. Don't weaponize it because it ain't the person you don't want. So you must be elected. You must be on the ballot. It's not a succession plan. It's not an appointment.
A few questions here. Before we go there, I do want to show this quick 3-minute video for membership, and then we'll open it back up. But we'll start with you when it comes to the question. Okay? So I'm going to pass the mic to Brendan, and then we'll go.
So what you're about to watch is a demo of the digital membership plan. So what should be happening? The card is pushed out in Vegas. We're now at the point of the life membership. What you're gonna see in this video is what's gonna be shared with all secretaries. We actually are working to try to get, things on site before you leave convention, but the goal right now is in the card, once you receive the digital membership card, you can update your information in the card. We want to get to the point to where as major things happen and the president needs to send out an instant alert to all memberships, it will be pushed out through this call. So the other piece that we are eventually working to is that a unit would then be able to push out your alerts through this card. Now, I will warn you, in 6 months, when a person pays online, or they pay you and you enter them in the portal, when this card is issued, they're gonna receive a survey. And that survey is gonna ask you, have you heard from your local branch? Do you know where your local branch meets? Because we must make sure that if you taking their money, they know where you meet. So this demo is going to show you how the card is set up, and as the features change with the card, we will continue to update you. We will not do away with the physical card. You will still receive the physical card, but we are pushing digital so that when there is a backlog or the vendor cannot push the card out timely, you already have a digital card.
Well, without further ado.
Y'all are wonderful.
Because once you plug it in, the audio plays.